Good morning slash afternoon. This is Chris Bernard from the Monday Morning Marketing Webcast. I hope you're doing absolutely stupendous. I promised you to give you updates and information from my content marketing world visit in Cleveland, Ohio. However, I had something more pressing than that. At least I think it's more pressing than that. I had a prospect call last week, and I wanted to share some of the insights with you in terms of that call. All right, so this specific company focuses on the gig economy in terms of insurance. And they seem like they've got a lot of great leadership skills. The technology looks good on the outside. They're tracking things through the funnel, which is wonderful, wonderful news. And this is still a prospect. They had some requests in terms of what they wanted to actually change on this website to get more leads, to improve the user experience, all of this stuff. And previous to that, we made a suggestion to them, like who's their target customer, how are they coming in. You're kind of targeting this new kind of niche vocabulary. Really, it's this gig economy stuff, gig stuff seems kind of unique and new, and we're not sure exactly the phraseology, right, that people are using to potentially find your stuff. So let's go back and let's kind of revisit maybe potentially a market plan. And we talked about, okay, a market plan not only identifies the who, what, when, where, why, and how to go after a certain set of customers, right? That roadmap, if you will, okay? So we have the concept of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We pull some great business insights down. We know who that customer is. We do keyword insights, so we know which search terms are important in terms of the user experience, and we go ahead and we craft then the positioning statement, what makes us different, and then all the strategy elements, right? A traditional market plan. You got that? Well, great. So they thought that was a good idea, but they still have these issues that they want to get fixed. So they said, okay, well, let's take a step back. Since the market plan is going to take 30 days or so, 45 days to actually kind of work through, including about 2 weeks for keyword insight, where we test all those thousands and thousands of keywords. We find out which words actually really drive traffic or potentially drive traffic. And then we go after and say, yep, we're going after this one, this one, this one. Since we're not going to do that, or we have these really immediate deliverables, we need to figure out which ones have the greatest value, okay? So here's what we did. I jumped in, said, okay, well, I'm going to do a customer kind of walkthrough as if I am brand new to this. So the first thing I had to think about was which keywords would I potentially use to come into this audience. Now, there's a couple areas that I could actually go ahead and look at in terms of which ones potentially could drive some traffic. I didn't want to be targeting words that nobody was using or there was no volume on, right? So I went through, I said, okay, well, there's a couple ways you can get keywords. So the first place I went to was their site. Obviously, I want to see which keywords they thought were important. They didn't even have keywords loaded up in anywhere, actually. I ran Screaming Frog to find out if they had any keywords, and if I was just missing them, I didn't see anything. So not on the keywords on the website. So what I ended up doing was using what every red-blooded marketing American does, is you pull up Google AdWords and their Google Planner and try to find those keywords that have the greatest traffic. So I used that. I saw some neat stuff. I also used trends.google.com to look at some of those top ones that were kind of coming up to the top in terms of that list, in terms of the build out. I said, okay, well, these are probably about the top 10 or 12 that I'm looking at as some potential traffic. And I wanted to catch some that were actually increasing or at least leveling, if not expanding, as opposed to descending. And that had some volume. So I was getting a little bit of gravy in that, but not as much as I'd like. After I started to look at that, I believe I had like 3 or 4 words. I mean, keyword phrases, right? I said, this is not working. So I went to use Google Auto Suggest, right? So going in and typing different, based on the knowledge that I had from those previous things, I was actually using the when you start typing, the Auto Suggest for those keywords. And I came across the right one, or at least I thought was the right one. And so I'm basing my assumptions that this is the right keyword that they should be going after. This is keyword insight and all that stuff, but I wanted to get kind of the mindset of who was actually visiting it. Because without that, positioning of elements on a page, or icons doing this, or back buttons over here, or call to actions over here, they mean nothing, guys. We often say, well, we really should do that. We start implementing, or it comes down from on high, and that's what we need to be rolling with. It's like, you know what? You need to get the persona of the person that you're trying to target, because the whole page experience and what needs to be there depends on that guest, right? I know this seems simple, but a lot of times we put that cart before the horse, and we're not willing to kind of take a stand in terms of what we should be doing right, okay? So now that I've got the right mindset, I started to look at some of those other search queries, and I said, okay, well, if we're going to go down that path, how can we best manage that customer coming in the funnel? So now I've got the mindset, I did this search query, that's my assumption, right? I came in on this page, I've looked at some of those search results, and I know I'm getting a feel as to what Google is saying is important in terms of the guests, right? Because I'm looking at the actual search results page for that specific key term, and Google's obviously sharing those top results with me that are kind of important. So let me go ahead and wear that customer persona on. I'm looking now for this information that I saw specifically, not just in the ads, but also in the organic spot, what Google thought was important in terms of my mindset as a prospect. So as I'm going through that, I'm seeing significant challenges. And I wanted to work through this kind of example because at the end of the day, these are my notes from last week when we were actually talking on the phone in terms of the observations that I had specifically. So when I went through the site, there were several things that popped up. The first one, and the most important, so if you think about it, there's pre-sale and there's post-sale, right? So they're a prospect until they actually convert on your site, and then they become a customer, right? So there's things that we can definitely do on this side after the sale, but there's things that we can do on that front end side in terms of the pre-sale that are really, really important. So these kind of stood out at me because at the end of the day, if the kitty's ringing, this becomes a lot better of a problem to solve at this point. If this is not happening, you're hosed. So information and pre-sale. The big one I was like, look, I'm just trying to figure out if I can replace my current paid health insurance program with this new gig, kind of approach, right, to solving my problems. And so when I actually went on and I recorded the whole thing for him, in fact, it's part of the proposal that we sent over. But the biggest one was I wasn't sure what the heck I was buying. I know that's crazy, but they talked really pontificating big picture up here that's saying, this is good. We do, telemedicine and things like that, but they couldn't necessarily say that, it's insurance. That's not exactly what they do. But my question in terms of my mindset as the customer was, can I replace my current health insurance program? Even though they don't sell insurance, they sell benefits, health benefits. Can I replace it? If you do Teladoc and I get my prescriptions, is that really all I need? That was the question of which I was doing. So every time I kind of had that was the mindset coming into this, I was not able to determine based on the information that they had, it was either way too top line or it got down to this is not insurance, technical verbiage that didn't mean anything. So we weren't able to actually answer the question what I was actually buying. The second thing I ended up seeing was in terms of videos. It would be so much easier if you actually had a video kind of explaining that process. In fact, that's a theme you're actually going to see through here was I didn't know exactly where I was at in the buying funnel, right? So in this specific program, I'm buying into a membership, right, that has these benefits, but when I actually signed up, it brought me into, okay, explore my benefits, but these benefits don't work that way. It's simply access to those benefits that now I can sign up for individually. Okay, and they're working on integration of those kind of things. But that was confusing to me. I didn't know exactly, okay, so I can get my membership, am I buying additional insurance on top of that? And if so, why am I buying additional insurance on top of it? Considering I might be able to just replace it with my, Teladoc experience and my prescriptions and these other cool little, like dental and, vision and stuff like that. So that was the question, but there were these other things that had to be considered after it. So videos would be very helpful in terms of where I'm at, explaining that in a simple way, alongside the actual text. That would have been helpful. In this case here, my question is, can I replace my current health insurance program with this new program? So having even a simple chart, and they love this idea, having a simple chart that had the elements that it would be the customer's mind, your traditional health insurance program, this specific program, and maybe alternate programs, maybe kind of a combination of things, but having that basic checklist. So it makes it very clear in one picture, not only do I get this stuff here with my traditional health insurance program, but I also get these other benefits, right, that I'm not getting with my traditional health insurance program. So good stuff there. And then the point I wanted to make with them is if you confuse your customer, they don't buy. Like they just, if we have any apprehension, we don't buy. So that makes sense. And if you don't answer their questions in this part up here and they're confused, they're not going to click the buy button. They're not going to sign up. So they agreed that this was pretty important and everything kind of revolved around this. So we're doing that. The other thing that was, so once you sign up for this program, and this one, the reason I'm telling you this, because you need to think about the customer. This is the challenge that I have for you. Identifying which keywords and then thinking about the customer experience in that profile kind of environment so that you're able to kind of walk through. And I even recorded my sentence. So I'm thinking this, I'm looking for this, I can't find this. You know, I didn't like how this was here. I liked how this was here. You know, I kind of recorded those as I was going through it. It's really a great exercise if you guys haven't tried it. And you could use like Zoom or even like Logitech or any of those to figure that out. So once I finally signed up for the membership, okay, they were giving me this additional click, right, where I can go find out my benefits. And I can access my profile, but this other stuff I couldn't, when I actually went to click it, it wasn't available because I hadn't set up the accounts, like for the Teladoc and stuff like that. So it was very frustrating from a user. It's like, don't show me that page, right? Knowing full darn well that I really can't access anything. So again, it goes back to where am I at in this process? Where am I at in this process? A lot of times we just keep adding stuff in our businesses and we forget how that customer came into the funnel and ended up actually converting, and we can, you know, help them with that. So instead of having that additional click, let them know, check your email. You're going to have to set up your account. And here's the deal. Instead of just giving them a list of things that, in fact, these are just icons. Literally, they're just icons sorted under this basic subscription page, your account. Like, yeah, I guess you can know what some of that stuff is. So much better to have the one page with my subscriptions and then assume they're going to get these additional things, right? So assume almost as a check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, those kind of things. So if I've got the membership and potentially the next step for me is to, you know, set up my accounts for this and this, but then right below it is number 2, sign up for insurance, for traditional insurance or dentist or vision or those kind of things. So that it's basically almost like a checklist, right? You're expecting them to keep moving down through the funnel, okay? And that way, not only is it easier for the customer, right, to set up their account, but it's also a benefit to the organization because the assumptions are these other value adds are important. It allows them to increase that customer value, right? So that kind of makes some sense. But do that right on in the email. And then basically assume additional savings, so or services. So again, as we were just talking about, one is our basic membership, but then there's these other things 2, 3, 4, and you got some descriptions in there. So they're not just clicking freaking icons to figure out, okay, is this something that's important to me? I'm actually setting that up to explain what's going on and give them a reason to buy. So I thought that was an incredibly helpful scenario. The big takeaway is, again, you know, I gave you a couple tools on the front end. Identify those right keywords, that right keyword preferably. Look at Google's results and say, okay, well, the mind of the consumer, these are the questions based on the description and maybe even some of those results pages, what Google's answering with that question, right? Because that page has answers on it. So understand what the mindset of that guest is, right? The most important things, and then wear that marketing persona, put on that hat, put on that jacket, put on those glasses, and walk into the customer experience and record it and explain as you're going through this stuff what that person will be likely to be trying to get and accomplish through that site, through that specific web page and that experience. It is really, really an eye-opening experience. I challenge each and every one of you to do it for your experience. So I hope that helps. I will continue with the content for the content marketing world stuff. There were a lot of great sessions. I think I have 11 that I have, and I've got notes for other ones. So we've got a lot of great content, but this came about late last week. It was incredibly important. It was a very helpful exercise for the client, in this case, the prospect. It'll be very helpful when they become a client to make sure that the business launches, the stuff that we're launching right now has the greatest value, and it'll accomplish much in terms of the long run because we've gone through that exercise with that consumer-focused mindset. So I hope that helps. We will see you next week for the Monday Morning Marketing Webcast. I am your host, Chris Bernard. Have a wonderful, stupendous, efficient, profitable week.